This group of verses in Matthew chapter 5 has rubbed me the wrong way ever since I first read them. Allowing people to attack me, steal my clothes, and forcing me to carry their stuff around has never sat right with me as a red, white, and blue-blooded American. However, once I took a look at the context behind each of those situations, I realized that it wasn't about submission, but subversion. And let me explain how. So first, let's pull up the original scriptures so we know what we're talking about. Turn to Matthew 5, verse 38. You've heard the law that says the punishment must match the injury, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say, do not resist an evil person. If someone slaps you on the right cheek, offer the other cheek also. If you are sued in court and your shirt is taken from you, give your coat too. And if a soldier demands that you carry his gear for a mile, carry it 2 miles. Give to those who ask, and don't turn away from those who want to borrow. Now, of course, with anyone with any kind of independent spirit, that does not rub you the right way. Letting people abuse you, steal your stuff, and order you around? That sounds like a terrible thing to follow. But if you look at the standards of the time, then this makes a lot more sense. So back in those days when someone in a high standing wanted to put someone in a lower standing in their place, the most common tool of choice was slapping him. However, according to Jewish custom, usage of the left hand was considered unclean. So in order to slap someone on their right cheek, they would have to slap them with the back of their right hand. And if you've ever held the back of your hand, getting hit by that would hurt quite a bit. So whenever someone would backhand you in the face in those days, it's basically an act to humiliate you. And to basically say, yeah, I'm better than you, worm. But you see, what Jesus called us to do was to offer up our other cheek for them to slap. And the only way they could slap it was either with an open palm or with a punch. So instead of them striking you as a superior, they would have to strike you as an equal. Not to mention that slapping someone in public will certainly bring attention to the situation. But slapping someone twice when the other person did nothing wrong, that's gonna gather a lot of negative attention towards the slapper. And so in reality, who's really gonna get put in their place? What about giving up your coat and your shirt? Again, it works based on the context of the time. Because back in those times, you cannot take a poor person's cloak. Because if you do, you're not just taking their cloak, you're taking their blanket. However, that was often circumvented by taking away their shirt underneath. So what Jesus is saying is to not just give up your shirt beneath, but to give them your outer cloak too. Because yes, that will leave you exposed to the elements, but in a sense, it will expose them as well. But through this action of what I call malicious generosity, you're basically outing the abuser as who they truly are, letting everyone know that this person isn't worth being with, and thus basically destroying their reputation. And finally, there's the question of carrying the gear for the mile. According to Roman military code, a Roman soldier could command any subject to carry their gear for 1 Roman mile, and the subject could do nothing about it. They would just have to carry it that distance. Because think about the dynamic of that situation. You're essentially being forced to carry all this stuff like a pack animal. And so what Jesus calls us to do is that once that mile ends, we keep going. Not because we have to, but because we want to. Again, shifting the power dynamic. Basically telling the soldier, yeah, I did the first mile because I had to, but I'm doing this mile because I wanted to. I might have to research this myself, but I believe that back in those days, if a Roman soldier was found forcing a person to carry their luggage more than a mile, then that soldier would be severely punished for it. So not only was it a way to balance out the power situation and do it to show that you're simply doing it as an equal, but it's also a way to bring justice. So in all these verses, Jesus was establishing a pattern that God doesn't simply want us to submit to the ways of evil. Rather, he wants us to subvert them, to take the power dynamic of the situation and completely flip it on its head. And in the end, that's basically what Jesus did. I imagine many people expected the Messiah to come down on a white horse bringing war and conquest. But in reality, he came riding on a donkey. Instead of slaying his enemies, he offered himself to them as sacrifice. And then rose again from the dead so that we may also be with him in heaven. And that is a truly beautiful thing. Thank you for watching this video, everyone. God bless, and y'all have a good day.